Okay, like your bonds, stocks are also quite important from the diversification point of view. And everybody is concerned about the stock market or the equity market, what we can say. So here, if you see that, like your bond market, we will discuss something about the valuation and other aspects of the stocks. Then we can move towards the actual practical operations of the stock market, which is happening with respect to India. So all of you know that what exactly the stock is. Basically, stock is a certificate which is representing the partial ownership in a company. So if you have invested certain money or you have bought a stock, that means partially you are also the owner of that particular company. Some ownership you have. Whenever we are talking about the ownership aspect of that particular kind of firm or particular kind of company. So whenever you talk about the stock market, it is quite important because stock market is considered as a leading indicator of the economy or of a business cycle. If the stock market is doing well, that means we can say that the economic performance in the market is also going to, or the macroeconomic performance also is going to be better in the future. So that's why the stock market is basically a major alternative sources of finance for the companies. Company can raise the capital through this particular stock market for their future investments and other things. So in this particular context, what basically we have to see, there are certain things that what are those different types of stock market which is available. Broadly, all of you know that like other markets, stock market also has two segments. One is called primary market or the new issue market. One market is we define it as primary or new issue market, and another is basically your secondary market. So whatever securities are issued in the primary market, so those securities are basically traded in the secondary market. The secondary market does not play any role, direct role in making funds available to the companies. It only helps the investors to invest in the securities by making them liquid. That means by providing the facilities for continuous, regular, and ready buying and selling of the securities. So that is the way the secondary market will facilitate. But the primary market is the market which basically adds to certain new securities or additional capital to the market. So that's why the primary market basically supplies the fresh or additional capital to the companies. And the value of the transactions will vary on the basis of the demand and supply forces which is operated or which is available in the secondary market of that. So like other markets, the stock market is also classified in two ways. What are those instruments which are available in the stock market largely? Can you tell me what are those securities which are available in the stock market? Yes. What are those instruments? Anybody? Any idea? Yes. What are the different type of shares which are available in the stock market? Priyansa?
Yes, sir.
What are those securities or what are the different type of equity instruments are available in the stock market?
Sir, do we mean equity and simple bonds like that?
bonds is not a part of the stock market. What are the different type of equities? Is there any classification of the equities?
So common stock, preferred
Okay.
shares.
Okay, good. One is your ordinary or common stocks. Okay, common shares or common stocks. And another one you said preference shares. So how do you differentiate between these two? What is common share and what is preference share?
So common share is like when someone owns a part of that company, and preferred share are like the people are only lending money to the company in exchange of dividends and mm,
Okay. Any
like they
other?
are just shareholders and they are not the owners of the company.
Okay. So if you formally differentiate between them, what points I can write for the common shares and what points I can write for the preference shares? So one thing you said, it gives the holder the voting rights, right? And what else? Is it mandatory to get the dividend if you are holding a common share? Let you have invested in a company. Is it the company's
No,
responsibility?
sir.
Okay. So that means we can write the dividend payment is not mandatory. Company may give, may not give. Yes or no?
Sir, what do you mean by dividend here?
Yes. Kon Ravi?
Yes, sir. What do we mean by dividend?
What do you mean by the dividend? This is your question or what?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody can explain? Priyansa, I know what is dividend.
Yes, sir. In coupon bonds, coupons are there.
No, you talk about the equity. What do you mean by the
Sir, it
dividend?
is like some payment in a particular time period, like it is repeated after a particular time period. Those are like periodical payments for the share.
Periodical payment of the share. So is it
Sir,
mentioned whenever you have invested or it is not mentioned
yes, sir,
whenever you
it
have
is mentioned. So,
it
like
is
periodical cash flows that the
what you get
shareholder
from that
gets.
particular stock?
Yes, sir.
Okay, little it is not mentioned, Ray. It is not mentioned from that particular kind of whenever you have invested. The company will not
Sir,
earn
I
the
think it also depends on the profit the company is
yes,
making in that particular time period.
Whatever Ravi, whatever profit basically company earns in a particular year, right? Are you hearing me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whatever profit the company earn, out of the total profit, what the company does, the company can pay certain percentage to the of the profit to the investors, right? Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Let on generally what happens, let company has got 100 rupees profit, total profit. So out of them what they can do, first they have to pay the interest. If they have borrowed certain money or they have issued the bond and all these things, first the interest payment they will make. So let they have paid 20 rupees interest payments. Then the remaining 80 rupees will be there, right? Then after remaining 80 rupees, they will pay the tax. Let the tax is 20%, right? So if the 20 rupees is the tax, then how much they have paid the tax? Kitna payment kiye?
16.
16 rupees. 16 rupees they have paid the tax. Then raha kitna? 80 minus 16, that is 64 rupees, right? So ये जो 64 rupees रहा वो उनका profit after tax है. So these 64 rupees say if the company wants, the company can pay certain percentage as the dividend to the investors. Let company wants to pay 10% or 20%, depending upon the, that's why it is not mandatory. Company may pay, may not pay. So let the company has paid 10% of the particular profit to the investor, then 6.4 rupees they have paid, right? So in that case, whatever remaining will be there, that basically we call it the retained earnings. That we call it the retained earnings. And these retained earnings can be reinvested in the market again. It can be reinvested in the market for the different investment perspectives, and accordingly the company can generate some kind of profit for the next year or some return for the next year.
So is it profit reflective of the stock price? Like, let us say it has got some profit, right? So does that mean its stock price will be increasing, or is it reflective of that element?
Not necessarily. Profit is directly proportional to the stock price, but profit is not the only factor which is affecting the stock price. So the particular investor, the return component has two. One is your capital appreciation. If you have invested in a company, then there are two things basically involved with respect to your return. One is your capital appreciation, another one is the dividend. So the capital appreciation means, let you have bought the stock at a price of 50, the price has gone up to 55. So 5 rupees capital appreciation you have got in that particular kind of investment. Let the company has paid you 1 rupee dividend or 2 rupees dividend. So apart from the other, I am not considering the tax and all these things. So effectively, let, for example, you have sold the stock. So if you have sold the stock, from here you are getting 5 rupees, and in that particular period you got also the dividend of the 2 rupees. Then the total cash flow or total return what you are getting, that is 5 rupees plus 2 rupees, that is the 7 rupees. So that's why what basically she said, or what generally the dividend is not mandatory. Company may pay the dividend, may not pay the dividend. There are various factors which affect the payment of the dividend that we are not discussing here. But once the company started paying the dividend, generally companies don't stop the dividend, because dividend is considered as a signal to the market. If company does not pay the dividend, then maybe the investor will feel that the company is not doing well. So that's why the dividends are mostly basically paid once the company started paying the dividend, unless there is any specific problem with respect to that company. So that's why the return has two components. One is your capital appreciation, one is dividend, but the dividend is not mandatory. But the concept of dividend, what your question is, if you are asking that whether if the profit is increasing, whether we can assume that the return is increasing or not, stock price is increasing or not. That is basically, we theoretically assume that the profit, if profit is increasing, means the stock price must be increasing, or it is a positive or direct relationship with the profit. But it is not always say that the profit is the only factor which is affecting the stock return or the stock price. There are many other factors. Okay. Ravi, is it okay?
Yes, sir, it is fine.
Okay, so we are discussing about the ordinary shares or the common shares. The common shares have the voting rights, and dividend payment is available with respect to the common shares, but it is not mandatory. Dividend may be paid, may not be paid. But whenever you talk about the preference shares, Priyansa, you continue. What is preference shares? Yes.
Sir, the owner of the stock.
First voting rate है कि नहीं बताओ?
No, sir. He is not the owner of the company.
No voting right. Okay. What else?
Sir, dividend must be paid.
Dividend is fixed. Fixed dividend payments. Okay. What else? Anything else? Okay. Anyway, that is
No,
basically
sir. I don't know any
okay.
other.
So they have a priority to be repaid if the company becomes insolvent, right? They have the priority in comparison to the common shareholders to get the payment. For example, company insolvent ho gaya, company is becoming liquidated. So in that case, first the payments, if the company's assets will be sold and payment will be made, then first payment will go to the bondholder and the next payment will go to the preference shareholder before it goes to anything to the equity holders. Am I clear? Yes or no? Have you got the point?
Yes, sir. Then how are these different from bonds? I mean, these are essentially bonds.
More or less, it is a hybrid instrument, right? More or less, this is a hybrid instrument. So that's why sometimes we call it the preference shares are basically has bond features, but there is a, I'll discuss further, there are different type of preference shares and some preference shares can be converted into equity after a certain period. Okay, the bonds cannot be converted into equity, but some preference shares can be converted into equity. But what exactly you have asked, more or less, it is the same features like the bond. Bond has a fixed coupon, they have a fixed dividends. Bond holders have no voting rights, they don't have any voting rights. Okay, so if the company is getting more return, then they are not going to be benefited out of this because their dividend payments are fixed. But the bond holder also will get the fixed payment, but the equity holders may be benefited. So therefore, more or less, the preference shares have the characteristics of the bonds, but little bit difference in terms of the types of the preference shares. What are those different types of the preference shares? There are various preference shares, the priority is given for the payment. But if you talk about the types of the preference shares, we have a preference shares called this convertible. Already I told you that convertible and non-convertible. Non-convertible. Convertible preference shares can be converted into the ordinary shares, which on the basis of the terms and conditions fixed at the time of the issuance. And the non-convertible preference shares cannot be converted into the common shares at any point of time. So that one difference is convertible versus non-convertible. Another preference shares we can say that is called cumulative and non-cumulative. Non-cumulative. What do they mean by the cumulative and non-cumulative? For non-cumulative preference shares, or we can say that for the cumulative preference shares, if the dividend is skipped in a particular period, it has to be paid subsequently. For some reason, if the company could not pay the fixed dividend which has been fixed before to the preference shareholders, then next year or next period, they have to pay that particular dividend which basically they have not paid in the last year. That means the dividend payments are cumulative in nature. But if it is a non-cumulative preference share, if for some reason, valid reason, the company could not pay the dividend in that particular period, then it is gone. They have to, this investor has to forgo that particular kind of payments. That is not going to be paid in the next year, even if the company's situation gets changed. So that is the way we can define that cumulative and non-cumulative preference shares. Then another preference shares we can also define on the basis of redeemable and non-redeemable. So what do you mean by the redeemable preference shares? Redeemable preferences basically matures in a fixed period of time. It is almost a kind of debt or a kind of bond security, like debenture, which is basically the long-term bond issued by the companies. But non-redeemable preferences at any point of time cannot be matured. For indefinite period of time, this particular share will be held by the investors, and the companies will be paying the dividends and other things accordingly. So this is basically another kind of classification we can make. Another also some specific cases, we have a kind of categorization that is called participating and non-participating. What is the meaning of this? The participating preference shareholders can earn higher dividend than fixed one if the company makes good profits. If the participating preference shares are there, then for particular period or particular year or particular kind of quarter, if the company has generated more profit, then there is a possibility that these kind of investors can get more profit. For that means for participating preferences, the dividend is not fixed in nature. But for non-participating preferences, the dividends are fixed. So that is basically the another classification you can make while discussing about the preference shares or the types of the preferences. That is the way also the classifications can be made. So these are the different type of instruments which are available in the equity market, or different types of equities which are available in the market, stock market or the equity market, and they are classified on the basis of certain characteristics what just now we have discussed. So like your yes,
In non-redeemable case, I mean, if there is no maturity period, then the investor will keep on getting money, right?
keep on getting. Whenever you are investing in a stock also, unless you sell your stock, you will be getting your appreciation and the dividends, right? So in preference share scales also, the company will be regularly paying the dividend to them. Unless they don't want to, they want to get back that particular money from the company. They will sell the preference shares and get the money back. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next issue, what basically we'll be discussing with respect to this. Before we go towards the market part, let us discuss something about the valuation of these particular instruments. The valuation of the equity. So whenever we go for the valuation of equity, just like the bond, whenever we have just now we have discussed, there are broadly two approaches we follow. There are two approaches we follow for the valuation of the equity. Or here I am referring to the common stocks. What are those approaches? One approach we call it the discounted cash flow techniques. Discounted cash flow techniques. And second approach we follow, that is called the relative valuation techniques. The objective of these techniques are different, and there is a relationship between these two techniques also. So in the first case, we are trying to calculate the intrinsic value of that particular stock, the fundamental value of that particular stock. And second case, we are basically, this relative valuation technique is used for deciding that which particular stock is better for the investment in that particular point of time. That means it is basically a comparable kind of technique. So look at the 2 stocks or 3 stocks or 10 stocks, and accordingly, using certain kind of multiples, we decide that which particular stock is beneficial for me or which stock has the potential for the investment in the market, better investment or better return in the market. So that is called the relative valuation techniques. That will come further. First, let us start with the discount cash flow techniques. So whenever we go for the discounted cash flow techniques or any kind of DCF model, whenever we use, first what we need a cash flow. So any kind of what we can say that we go for a cash flow, discounted cash flow techniques whenever we use. Discounted cash flow whenever method is used for valuation of a particular security. What we need, what does it mean? It means that the value of a share or value of a common stock is nothing but the present value of all future cash flows. It is nothing but the present value of all future cash flows, right? The discounted cash flow models basically tries to explain that. So whenever we are using this discounting technique for valuation of a particular asset, including the stock, what we need? First, we need a cash flow. Like bond make, what was the cash flow? Coupon was the cash flow. For equity, we need a cash flow, right? Second thing also we need, that is the growth rate of the cash flow. Growth rate of the cash flow. And third thing also we need the discount rate. In the previous case, in the bond case, we have used the market yield as a discount rate. Here also we have to find out a discount rate, that which discount rate should be used to discount that particular cash flow to find out the present value. And fourth thing is obviously your time period. So these are the 4 inputs which are required for the valuation of that particular equity. Valuation of that particular equity, generally we need these 4 things in that particular case. So now you tell me, what is the cash flow involved with respect to the equity? Yes. Go ahead. If you are investing in a common stock, yes.
Capital appreciation and dividends, that should be
capital appreciation. Capital appreciation is not a regular, right? If you sell your stock, then only you can get the money back, and some capital appreciation you can consider. But the regular cash flow is what?
dividend.
Dividend. Okay, one thing is dividend. What else? Is there anything else? One is dividend, right? Correct. Any other cash flow also involved with respect to equity or with respect to the company?
Reserve and surplus.
Sorry?
Reserve and surplus.
Reserves and surplus. Okay. What else?
The profits and retained earnings.
Retained earnings. Retained earnings you are
Sir,
telling?
that is only reserve and surplus, right?
Reserves and surplus थोड़ा term थोड़ा बड़ा है रे. It is broader.
So मतलब the profits that are like the profits that are मतलब जो profit and loss statement से जो last में profit बचता है after all the or like at the end, that is only something which we use as reserve and surplus in the balance.
No, reserve and surplus में company का पहले से भी कुछ surplus रह सकता है ना रे. Are you getting my point?
Yes sir, वो मतलब year का add करने का मतलब जो
So reserve
बचे
and surplus, that's why it is a relatively broader term than the return earnings. Return उसमें से plus होके कुछ मिलता है जो वही reserve and surplus होगा, right? It is not exactly the return earnings only. Okay. So let me tell you that another thing is also, we call it another cash flow which is involved. That is a part of things whatever you said. That is called the operating cash flow. But operating cash flow generally as a cash flow used not for the equity, it is for the valuation of the company. And the another cash flow also involved, that is called the free cash flow to the equity. Free cash flow. So we have the three cash flow measures which is basically used for the valuation of that particular equity. So in this case, we have to discount it with respect to a certain discount rate, and also we have to understand that what is the growth rate of that particular cash flow over the period of time. So let me tell you that I didn't tell you about the operating cash flow, how we can calculate. You just note it down. The operating cash flow of the company can be calculated as your net income plus depreciation plus your change in working capital. Okay. And your free cash flow is basically your cash flow from the operations, what you have calculated, cash flow from operations minus whatever money company has invested in the fixed asset, that is capital expenditure, plus the new or net debt issued. What is the new debt they have issued and what is the debt already they have redeemed. So what is the new thing basically they have, the net debt issued with the company. That is called the free cash flow, right? So there are three, but most popular method is basically the dividend, because dividend is generally available regularly for the company. If a company is paying the dividend, then dividend is the periodical cash flow always we get. And we can also calculate certain things with respect to the discounting that particular dividend. Okay, anyway, I'll come to that. So you just, for your information, you keep that thing in the mind. Then what is the growth rate of the cash flow? The growth rate of the cash flow means at what rate the particular cash flow is increasing. So that is basically, you can calculate, generally there is a formula we use it to calculate. If growth rate is not given, then you can calculate the growth rate by your retention rate or retention ratio of the company, retention rate divided by the return on equity, ROE. That is the growth rate of the cash flow. And your discount rate has to be decided on the basis of the cash flow, whatever you have considered. The retention ratio is basically calculated as a retained profit divided by the net profit. So that is the retention ratio. Then you have to multiply with your return on equity. That is basically nothing but the net profit divided by the total equity. Net profit divided by the total equity. That is the way basically we calculate. That is, there is a ratio what basically we get it, and if you multiply that, the retention ratio is like 50%, then 0.5 multiplied by your let your return on equity is basically we can say let 10%, then 0.1, then accordingly your growth rate can be calculated. So that is the way basically the growth rate of the company can be calculated, or growth rate of the cash flow can be calculated. And as well as we have to also see that whether the growth rate of the cash flow is changing across the time, or the growth rate of the cash flow remains same. The growth rate of the cash flow is changing across the time, or the growth rate of the cash flow remains the same over the time. So that is also another thing basically what we have to keep in the mind. So this that is what basically always we consider. So now we have to find out that what should be the discount rate, and this discount rate basically will change. The discount rate will change on the basis of the cash flow what you are considering. If you are dividend you are considering as a cash flow, your discount rate will be different. If you are using operating cash flow, your discount rate will be different. If you are using free cash flow, then your discount rate will be different. So how these discount rates are calculated, and how the exact growth rate and all these things are considered, and what are those methods we adopt to find out those inputs, and all these things we'll discuss in the next class. We can stop here. I just wanted to discuss certain things to you about your